Rev her up, Surly Talk Sports screaming in from the back fence once again for another episode in the saddle. She's a busy week for me, to be fair. Had the old opening of the full-time sports bar last night on your Tuesday night. Of course, record these pods on your Wednesday, so I was in the mixer there. Gotta say, what a venue this is. The screens, the big screens alone, that is worth bums on seats. There's a 32-metre jumbotron around the bar. That is the only screen of its type in Australasia. Then you got the big screen, then you got the TAB punting section. It truly is elite. It ticks every box that you want in a sports bar. Some great brews on tap as well. Unfortunately, no better beer, but no doubt that's a work on and something I'll look to slip into the taps over the months to come. But tonight, doing a George FM, George Sports live potty from there for the official opening to the public. So looking forward to that one. So lots of talking coming up on the agenda for me. So I'm going to look to punch out today's pod. So bear with me if she's a little briefer than usual. And I'd love to see her there. Hopefully a few surly listeners in the mixer at the full-time sports bar tonight. Remember, there's so much footy to sink the teeth into this weekend as well. So if you are in the Auckland region, head along to it. In Kingsland, great location, overlooks Eden Park, the old fortress. It's a heck of a venue, and I can't wait to park myself there the majority of the weekends and just sink the teeth into some sport. How bloody good. Shout out to the TAB, of course, headline sponsors of the pod. Really appreciate their work. Once again, we've got a code exclusive for the first 100 podcast listeners that claim it. This week, the code is prelim. It's changed yet again. So, of course, NRL prelim finals this weekend, so the code applies to that. PRELIM. Just spelt it out for you to avoid any confusion. Chuck that in the bonus cash section and the TAB will bet match your bet up to $50 in bonus cash when you place a bet after putting the code in on either of the two NRL prelim games. So get around that. And also get around Better Beer, the official beer of the Surly Talk Sports podcast. Only 87 calories, 0 carbs, great for the rig, goes great with a game of sport as well. So head along to your local bottle shop, comes in the cans or the bottles. So there's a tin of your choice, regardless of your preference. Shout out to Better Beer, absolute legends, and really appreciate their support. But without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. Going to talk some NRL, some rugby union, and some punting. No weekly wrap or Q&A this week because I am a little bit short for time. I'll probably still dribble on and make this pod bloody long. But hey, it is what it is. So let's get amongst it. NRL prelim time, only 3 games left before we get into our international code, so it's bittersweet. The horizon is on the cards for your Gods game. At the same time though, I think the Warriors lads are back in pre-season November 1. She's a pretty short turnaround. It's pretty brutal, to be fair. We'll kick her off with some talking points though before we get into last week's results and have a look ahead at this week's game. The RLPA Dream Team, that has been announced, and for me this is the team you really want to make. Of course, it's voted on by your fellow players, your peers, and they're often the ones that really do know who are the best footy players going around. It just shows how high of a regard you held amongst your fellow players. At fullback, we had the ghost, Dylan Edwards. Fair enough there. I'd say Tedesco and Ponga, probably your other main nominees, but well done to old Dillbags. On the wings, Zachy Lomax, someone who came out and said he doesn't want to play on the wing, hates being a winger. Turns out he's bloody good at it. Was massive for New South Wales and the Dragons this year. And then on the other sting, it's To'o. That's got to be him, locked in almost every year. He's an absolute shoo-in. In the centres, Herbie Farnworth, the herbivore, and Critter, 2 elite centres right there. Hard to argue with either of those. I saw a few people suggesting Joey Manu. For me, I think these two have been well and truly the best on show. In the halves, Jerome Luai and Jerome Hughes, the head-geared assassin. Luai, few people wanted Galvin there, which I can understand. Tommy Dearden had a pretty sharp year there too, but I thought the way Luai really stepped up this year in Cleary's absence throughout the majority of the season, led the Panthers around beautifully, and I thought he was unreal in State of Origin too, so he deserves it. And then Jerome Hughes, what more can you say? Bloke's the Dally M winner, so of course he's going to be in the mix. And the locks, Isaiah Yeo, set to be Penrith's most capped Panther ever. What a machine he he is. Work rate of doom, hissing ball playing. He had to be the standout selection there. Second rowers, Angus Crichton, which is pretty crazy to think. Started the year in reserve grade. Vegas wasn't required. Then he's gone on to get player of the series for New South Wales and Origin. Now in the dream team, an absolute weapon. So well done to him. Rocking the old bald lid as well, which I really do rate. I reckon his aggression and mana has gone up through the roof. And then Xwa Ali Katoa joins him in the other second row spot. Shit, has he been unreal. The beneficiary of playing outside Hughes for sure in terms of his attacking stats. The lines he runs though, and everyone knew the skill set he had when he was at the Warriors. He had so much untapped potential, but unfortunately we couldn't squeeze that out of him. He's gone over under Bellamy in that quality Storm system, and he's humming at the moment. His play defensively too has improved so much. Gone are the days where he looked a bit lazy on that side of the ball, would miss 5 or 6 tackles, and his effort areas looked pretty average. He's locked down now, COVID-19 level 4D, so well done to him. Your props, two of the best, the Waz duo, Adam Fanua-Blake and Mitch Barnett. Love to see that. You could say Fisher Harris-Leota deserved to be in the mix too. Joseph Tapine, no doubt he would go close on many people's tallies. But what a year for these two. Two of the great nut truckers. They really held it down for us in the middle. Two great aggressors. You got Barnett, just full out aggression. Flies out on the line on D, wants to put in big shots and dominate collisions. Then ball in hand, just a workhorse. Always over 150, 160 plus metres. Then he's versatile enough to play in the second row. Ended up being our skipper, set the tone for us. New South Wales debut, literally ticked every box. And then Adam Fanua-Blake, who for me, probably Dally M prop of the year in all honesty. I actually reckon it is a coin toss between these two, so you're happy with the result either way. But Adam's ability on attack, elite try scorer. I think he was our second top try scorer for the Waz this year. Got those Shakira hips, the skill set, the PCMs, the coldest try celebration in the game. Shit, are we going to miss him next year? Although we do pick up fish, so hey, it's a win-win. But well done to these two lads. Really is a testament to the quality of the season they had for us this year. And great to see some Warriors players in the mix. Then your hooker, Harry Grant, the wizard. Hard to go past him. And then Impact Player of the Year went to Terrell May, which you could argue as well. Josh Curran, who was a nominee, perhaps pretty hard done by. There were certain games where May, especially at the start of the season, would only play 10, 20 minutes if get on the paddock at all, which killed me as a fantasy owner. But whenever he did get on and touch the stead, he was elite. Man, is he going to be a real talent over the next few years. Still so young with so much untapped potential. Let's see what the Chooks can do with him. But that is a bloody hissing team, and well done to all of them. Deserved. And I don't really have any problems with any of those positions. Speaking of Mitch Barnett, rumours as well. He's a chance to debut for the Kangaroos coming up, which for me, that's a real catch-22. You love to see it. Shit, does he deserve it? As I just rolled off all those accolades before, that right there is why he should be wearing the green and gold, why he shouldn't. I really don't want to root against them. New South Wales Warriors, so far this year, he's played for every one of my teams. When he laces up for the Roos, yes, I'm still going to have a soft spot for him, and if he makes a good play, I'll still be cheering for him, but at the same time, he instantly becomes the enemy there, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. He would go unreal on the international stage, though. Born for Origin, tough as shit, can play high minutes. I reckon he would look great in a Roos jersey. Also, chat Zachy Lomax and Mitch Moses tossed up to come into the team. Lots of banter around Cleary, perhaps ruling himself out at the end of the year, just to get his body right for the NRL season next year, which perhaps is why Moses is being thrown up. The fact he hasn't played a game since Origin 3, that's pretty wild. You'd have to think it's him or DCE to wear the 7 if Cleary rules himself out. And speaking of ruling themselves out, Kalen Ponga, he's pulled pin. He said he wants to focus on the Knights for next year and getting ready for 2025. Not sure why, to be fair, because I don't think the Knights are genuine title contenders, and he did everything he could at the back end of this year to get his team to where they need to be. And saying that, he's so important to that Knights team. Without him, they're well and truly cooked. There's no way they play finals football. They're the ones that pay his contract and pay the bills for him, so I can understand why he prioritises them, and I'm sure the club has a massive say in this as well. They say, KP, we want you for the whole year, mate, so you're not playing international code. At the same time, though, if we want this to be the top level of the game, which us as Kiwis, we really do. We know the Aussies, they prioritise State of O, then NRL, then probably international. Off the back of us pumping them last year, 30 points to nil, I was hoping there would have been a little bit of a change in the tide. You can tell the Samoans and the Tongan lads are taking it serious. They want to put their country on the map as the top international team. It appears the Aussie lads not quite at that same level of commitment. For me, this goes back to two things. One, maybe the NRL season is too long. Players, it takes such a toll on their body to then extend their season into the back end of November and play such a brutal level of code as well. It's just too much for their rigs. Yes, they get to come back to preseason a little bit later, but shit, all those bumps and bruises, they still add up. So I get why clubs are hesitant to let them do it. I reckon maybe a shorter NRL season, as much as it hurts me to say, and then players will still make themselves available for the internationals. I heard as well, Peter Volandis saying that NRL is considering moving to a conference type setup in the next couple years. You'll have 4 different conferences like they have in the NFL and the NBA. You play in your conference, you play a couple crossover games, makes the season shorter, perhaps limits some of the travel for teams as well, like the Warriors. Fuck, do we rack up some Ks, which is great for your Air New Zealand frequent flyer points, not great for the body though. So perhaps there's a couple plays coming in over the next few years, which we'll see things like this happen on less occasions, because when you think already the Kangaroos without Cleary and KP, not saying KP would even make it with Dylan Edwards and Tedesco, but you want the best players available. Dylan Brown for the Kiwis, Kieran Foran, Jeremy Marshall-King, he's pulled out, wants to be ready for the Finns. It does make things a little tough straight off the bat. In terms of your contract news, rumours Ben Hunt heading to the Bulldogs, which is a massive get for them. Do feel a little bit sorry for Toby Sexton, the old sex god, sex on legs. I thought he had a great season this year. Came in a bit under the radar, wasn't that highly regarded, and he was more of just a fill-in job. I think Drewy Hutch was even starting ahead of him at the start of the year, but ever since they chucked him in, I thought he went really well. In saying that though, Ben Hunt, a massive upgrade there. He can also cover some minutes at 9 if they want to give the old pest Reid Marnie a bit of a spell, so that would be a huge get for the Bulldogs. Couple him with Satili Tupanua and Siwa Takiaho, and that would be 3 big guns to a team that finished 6th this year. That would be Gus Gould working his magic there for sure. And then jumping across to Brizzy, and it looks like they've locked down their young hot boy Reece Walsh. To be fair, I don't think anyone thought he would be going anywhere else. Clearly he loves playing for the Bronx. 4 years, $4.4 million, about 1.1 a year. I reckon that's a pretty good price for Reece. And yes, they struggled this year, but you could say his form for the Broncos, not in State of O, but for the Bronx, was still really impressive, despite them not having Reynolds, Ezra Mam for long periods of the season. 1.1 for a player like Reece. There's players of less star quality, both on and off the field, that are getting paid more than that. And just his marketability alone is probably worth at least 500-600 grand a year. Then you add to that the Raz and danger he brings on field. That's a great get for sure. NRLW, their semi-finals kick off this week, but I actually just wanted to shout out the Tigers in the NRLW. Who said this club isn't consistent? They've won the spoon in the NRLW, in the NRL. They've also done it in your New South Wales Cup, your SG Ball, and your Harold Mats too. That's 5 spoons this year for the boys from Balmain. Shit, is there something wrong going on there? It's excusable to have a young NRL side that isn't quite ticking boxes. Benji in his first year, but for me, you can't excuse not having a pathways program coming through that's getting results either. It appears the future isn't great. They're going to have to recruit and fill the team externally. They've done well with Luai, Taruva and co. Jackie Bird as well, so I do expect them to be improved next year, but that has to be worrying signs for the Tigers. 5 spoons in 1 season. That's actually bloody impressive, because it's really hard to do. And then last but certainly not least, in your NRL news, just wanted to shout out new Warriors signing Sam Healy, who's coming across from the Cronulla Sharks, and shit does he look sharp too. Not sure if his last name's Healy based off those shoes that have wheels on the bottom of them, the old Heelys. Unfortunately, unfortunately never owned a pair myself, but when I was younger, I thought they looked cool as shit, and some of the kids wearing them on the playground were rapid. Well, this bloke, he is rapid as well. Reminds me of a Harry Grant type of footballer, pretty much a similar cut of his jib to Wade Egan. When he gets a loose ruck, he will kill teams. He's a run-first type of operator off the back of quick play the balls, got really good distribution, he's tough as shit too, young, and I reckon this kid is going to be a gun, and the best sign, the best indicator of that is how disappointed the fans are from his original club when he leaves. Sharkies fans, they were fuming to see him go, so this is a great get for us. You have to think potentially a partnership of him, Jet Cleary, Luke Hanson in the future. That would be an all-Aussie trio. But man, all three of them great young guns that should see our spine look so sharp over the next couple years. So well done to the Waz. A bit of an under-the-radar get there that I think is going to prove to be really fruitful in the years to come as we watch this young bloke blossom. In terms of last week's games though, let's tuck into those Sharkies. They snap their finals footy hoodoo and get the dub over the Cowboys, 26 points to 18 off the back of a massive first half shift, 24 points to 0 at Oranges. The game was pretty much dead and gone. The Cows, they did their best to bring it back. For me, I think it was that goal line dropout where they cooked it out on the full. That was the big momentum killer for them, because prior to that, it looked like we were a game on. But Craig Fitzgibbons lads, they held on and booked themselves a trip to the prelim to probably get absolutely pumped by the Panthers. There was fuck all people at this game. You add to that, though, the NFL Grand Final over the weekend. There was so much sport on in Sydney. Cronulla, while it was a home game for them, it's still about 40 minutes away from the Shire, which is where, of course, most of their fans are based. Then they had the G train, the Paul Gallen train, which was a bit of a promo, a train from Cronulla to the stadium to get all the Sharkies fans there. The train actually didn't run. The workers were on protest, which I thought was a horrible omen and a real early indicator that they were going to get done. Surprised it didn't spell the end of the season, and they can thank Tricky Trindle's performance in going a long way in ensuring that they have another week to lace the boots up. What a performance from him, an absolute gun. Nicho Hynes let him run the show in the first 40 minutes, and he delivered in every single way. Finished the game with 2 tries, a try assist, 20 kicks for a massive 635 kick meters, and 4 forced dropouts. For me, Trindle, when you think about him, you think razzle, ball playing, run first type of operator, real eyes up type of stuff, but his long kicking game, extremely underrated, and I almost didn't know that he had this in him, so that was massive stuff there from Trins. Just on those total kick meters as well, he kicked for 438 meters in the first half. He averaged only 303 kicking meters per game when playing alongside Hynes this season, so clearly that was the plan. He executed their last tackle options perfectly, and I thought Hynes did a really good job as well in balancing out the playmaking, going to the hot hand, being that first receiver, then playing out to Trindle in a bit more space to allow him to work his magic and run the cutter. Hynes actually finished with 83 touches as well compared to Trindle's 65. I thought in the second half, Hynes really stepped up then. When it was time to ice the game, they went to the cold head, their best player, and he did their job perfectly. This is what I want to see from this combo. Trindle playing more that 7 role, Hynes that 6, rotating the responsibility, taking a bit of the weight off Nicho's shoulders. I reckon it worked really well, and no doubt they'll be looking to replicate that yet again this weekend. The Cowboys, they had their chances. Like I touched on before, I thought they were coming back late. The Sharks, though, just had enough in the tank. I thought Reuben Cotter, penalty try aside, which I think was a fair call. I would have backed Trindle there to cross for the chalk. I thought he was really good. Tommy Dearden, Valentine Holmes, they were both great. I thought Scotty Drinkwater had a really off day, and just his attitude looked a little bit rogue, to be fair. He looked pissed off. There was that moment where Reuben Cotter came across and tried to console him after he made an error, appeared to just push him away and give him a bit of a mouthful. For me, he goes such a long way in deciding how good the Cowboys are on the night. If Drinky's not on, then they're not going to get the dub, and I was really disappointed in this shift. He has this in his game too. He can be so up and down at times, so certainly that's a work on for him next year, and I think he'll be better for the experience as well. Valentine Holmes, mentioned him before, I thought he was elite. Unfortunately left the game game early with a broken leg. Lots of people saying unlucky Dragons fans, and that is just their luck, to be fair. But I actually reckon this is a much better result from them. At the time, people were saying possible ACL, possible Achilles. That's long-term injuries, broken leg. You can be back in a couple months. So I don't think this is the worst result for the Dragons. No doubt Flano can't wait to link back up with his old mate Val as well. I thought the Sharks were definitely the better side. A few close disallowed tries for them as well, and they were deserved winners. Shout out to the ref who put the whistle away in this game. That was extremely clear. It was an Origin-like shift from the man in the middle. Only 4 penalties and 1 set restart. That's unheard of this year. In fact, I think the only other game with a penalty count that low was Game 1 in State of Origin, which is what we want to see as fans, right? Let the players dictate it, let the game flow, let fatigue come into it, and then we'll see who's the best 17 on the paddock. Final shout out for a player who really stood out for me, Ronaldo Mulitalo. Underrated at times. He's more than just a finisher, which I think people think of straight away. They think the flashy stuff, his ability to cross the chalk. The bloke wants to win. He's an ultimate competitor. There's a lot of chat that he wants to go back home, his home away from home anyway, back to Brisbane. He even came out and said he's homesick. So maybe he's a target that the Broncos will look to land, but he's a heck of a player. Topped the running meters for this game, 195 in total, 3 line breaks, 3 tackle breaks, an unofficial try assist when he slapped back that high ball, which led to a Cam McInnes try as well. Can't wait to see him in a Kiwis jersey in a few weeks' time, and I just wanted to give him his flowers, because for me, he's bloody underrated out on that sting there for the lads from Cronulla. Chooks Manly, one-way traffic, 40 points to 16 it finished up, the Battle of the Beaches. That title goes to the boys from Bondi. Watch this one live from old Fox's Tavern in the Viaduct. Had an absolute skinful in me as well. Super Saturday, it certainly took its toll. Harbour into All Blacks into this one was an absolute doozy, so I had to watch the replay again on your Sunday morning just so I was across everything that happened. And to be fair, the stage was set for this result right off the kickoff. It was chaos for Manly in the first 2 tackles. Jared Waerea-Hargreaves claimed a victim straight away. The old people's elbow dished that out onto Tolatau Kola's chops, knocked him out cold. But to be fair, I don't think there was anything illegal in that at all. You're allowed to put your bumpers up. Kola, brave of him to scream in off the kickoff and try and put on a big shot. Was it the smartest play? Probably not. His technique caught him out a little there, and it ended up costing him. Manly lose their hero from the week before. Then second tackle, Jakey T. He looked gone for all money too. Knocked out, and I was surprised he was able to come back. You do have to wonder if there was a little bit of gamesmanship in that one, but no doubt losing 2 players straight away off the kickoff, psychologically, that would do an absolute number on you, and I've no doubt that rattled the Seagulls, lads. From there, momentum all with the Chooks. You're down a player on the interchange as well, and it was all one-way traffic. I thought James Tedesco was unreal for me. Him and Trindle were the better bear best performers of the week this week for sure. I have Teddy second on the Dalian ladder. I've been saying that week in and week out, but what a shift from him in crazy try-scoring form. I think he scored 5 in his last 3. We'll touch more on that shortly in the old punting segment, but I love what he's done this year. He's been so busy, energetic, always pushes up through the middle, and you can tell he's certainly not done. He's got some good footy left in him and pushing hard to be in that Kangaroos squad, that's for sure. I thought the Roosters attack was on fire all night. The best attacking side all year in the competition in terms of total points scored, and you can see why when they're in a mood like this one. The offloads for them, that was massive. When they can play fast through the middle, then activate some second phase footy off the back of turning on the Bluetooth, getting the old hands free, they are fucking hard to stop. They've got so many ad-lib style players in there. Their forward pack has a great skill set as well, and when they're humming, shit do they have the ability to score points and score them really quickly as well and make you pay for any errors. I thought that Roosters pack dominated as well, and Manly for me all year, their middles have been so up and down. You can watch them one week, Paseka and Lodge, and just think, holy shit, these two have the potential to be one of the top 5 propping duos in the comp on their day because they're just so big, and when they get momentum, they're so hard to stop. But at the same time, they also have the ability to shit the bed and not show up as well. For me, the Roosters, clearly, they made it their job to go after them here. Radley, Connor Watson, they all set the tone, and I think it just goes to show as well, Jared, we give him so much flack for his suspensions, for his grubbiness, but he still is that alpha dog, that enforcer. He's one of the greatest to ever lace up the boots in the middle, and I think this was just a testament to how big of a confidence boost he gives this side whenever he is in the 17. It looked like everyone just goes up another notch, knowing that Jared is there. He's going to lay the platform, take care of business, and if any shit kicks off as well, the big fella will well and truly be in the mixer. So well done to the Roosters. Tough way to finish for Manly, but at the same time, the fact they got this far this year, I think they'll bank that as a win. Tommy Trbojevic still so far from full health, so they'll look to build next year. Old Jazz Tavanga screaming in off the Rimu. Looking forward to seeing how he goes. But on to this week, prelim footy, and it's crazy to think just 1 year ago the Warriors were playing on this stage. Can't wait to be back there next year. This week though, we get dished up 2 good games. At the same time though, can't help but feel it's almost inevitable that both the Panthers and the Storm will win through here and book themselves a trip to the GF. The Storm have won 10 of their last 11 against the Chooks, and that will probably be the closer of the 2 contests. Then in the Panthers versus the Sharks, saw a crazy stat the other day from the random stats guy. Shout out to him. The Sharks, they haven't scored a point against the Panthers since round 19, 2022. They've been held scoreless in the last 229 minutes against them, and the Sharks have also been outscored 70 points to nil in their last 2 games against the Panthers. So those stats alone suggest one-way traffic. Can either of the underdogs go the big lift and pull off the upset? It'll be bloody interesting to see. First game, Friday night, 9:50pm, Storm vs Chookies, and I said before that this one has the potential to be the closer of the 2. I'm certainly backing the Storm to get the job done here, but for me, there's a couple things that I think the Chooks will like about taking on this Melbourne side. The battle of the middle for me is key here for the Chooks, and they have the potential to dominate in that area of the paddock too. If they want to stop this hoodoo and finally get a win against the top 2 footy side, then dominating the middle of the paddock through guys like Jared, Lindsay Collins, Spencer Leniu, Victor Radley, Connor Watson, that'll go a long way to doing just that. They need to play some fuck it footy, literally almost a rinse and repeat from what they did against Manly last week. Offloads, second phase, ad-lib, high energy, high tempo, work the likes of your Nelson Asafa Solomonas, your Josh Kings over in the middle, see if they've got the gas tank to be able to go with them for the full 80. I think the Roosters bench middles are better than the Storms as well, so they'll back themselves to have better impact off the Rimu. So no doubt Trent Robinson, he'll be going big around targeting that area for the Storm. If they can lock that down, get on a roll through there, then the Roosters, like I've mentioned several times, they've got points in them to make teams pay. For me, Melbourne, they're just so clinical though. The fact they're coming in off a week off as well, Bellamy would have been cooking up the perfect recipe in order to book themselves another trip to the GF. Their spine is killer. They seem to just balance their workload so well too. If Hughes is on, he becomes the guy that gets all the ball. Munster takes a back seat. If Munster's on, like he was against the Sharks in round 1 of the finals, Hughes, he's more happy to just play that facilitator role. Then you got Grant playing eyes up, sniffing around the ruck, Pappenhausen injecting himself whenever opportunities present. You know at least 2 of their big 4 are going to be on in every single game, and that factor alone makes them so hard to beat. Then you add in how good they are at home in front of what will no doubt be a big crowd. No changes for either side either, so good to see both coming in pretty damn healthy. The Storm looking to make their 5th grand final in the last 9 years. The Roosters, on the other hand, they haven't advanced to the big dance since they went back-to-back in 2018, 2019. That was old Cooper Cronk areas. Can they send JWH off a winner, or will the trip to Melbourne be one step too far? I like the Storm, but I do think 1-12 is a real possibility. If the Chooks are on and humming, then they could push them. I just think Melbourne at home, too clinical, and they will get the Chockies. Then on your Super Saturday, Panthers versus Sharks. Panthers in their 5th straight prelim. Shit, is that impressive, and I do think they'll be too strong here. Cleary, the luxury of another week off, a chance to get the shoulder right before he jabs her up, takes a one-way trip to Cortisone City, and I just can't see them getting tripped up. For me, the biggest advantage for them comes in the forward pack. Fisher Harris, Moses Leota, they hit another gear up against the Roosters in week 1. They're flexing their muscle and showing that when it comes to the biggest stages, they've just got another level to go compared to everyone else. I personally can't see the likes of Toby Rudolph, Oregon Kafusi being able to go with them, and I just can see this Penrith pack rolling through the middle off the back of some hissing yardage carries from To'o, Edwards and Taruva to start their sets. Momentum, it'll just be too much to stop. Man, would the Sharks love to get AFB early, bring him in. That would certainly increase their chances. But I just think the Panthers, 1-17, they're just such a quality football side, and Ivan will have them up for this. They just look primed for the 4-peat. They're my prediction at the moment to win the whole thing. Sharkies, good on them for snapping their losing streak last week, but I think this will just be a bridge too far. The key for me for the Sharks is if they can go set for set with the Panthers. They need to limit their errors. Trindle's kicking game, it's going to need to be like it was last week to match that of Cleary, and if they can get themselves in the grind and go with them, then they could find themselves in touching distance. Penrith, though, they just appear to be a class above. This is where they really roll up their sleeves. Fisher Harris, Luai, Taruva, all off at the end of the year. They'll want to send them out as winners. Another Cleary clinic is on the cards for me. These are the games he loves. Cometh the hour, cometh the chin. Panthers 13 plus. I really hope the Storm and Panthers win these games too. As boring as that sounds, so many people saying they want to see something different, but I actually don't want any upsets this week. I just want to see the best 2 teams all year tussle it out next weekend in the grand final. What a treat that would be, and let's hope for no injuries in these 2 clashes as well, so they're both at full strength, plus our Kiwis lads get through unscathed when Stacey Jones takes over in a few weeks' time, and we pump the Roos down in Christchurch. How bloody good. Get up the Panthers and get up the Storm. Never thought I'd say that, but hey, here I am, and hopefully they're in the grand final next Sunday. How bloody good. All Blacks, a win, but just by the skin of their sacks, and it was far from clinical, but still, we bet our closest rivals in the Wallabies to lock up the Bledisloe for another year. Aussies claiming they want it to be a best-of-3 series again, and look, to be fair, it probably deserves to be, because it does seem weird. You just win the first game and she's all over, but that is a topic for another day. 31 points to 28 she finished to Razors lads, up 28 points to 14 at halftime, and again we just took the foot off the throat, losing the second half, 14 points to 3. Massive crowd at this one, 68,000 people. Great to see, especially in Sydney, when you consider the circumstances and the other sporting events on. You had the NRL and the AFL in their finals. There were lots of options for supporters and sports fans to go to, but still they chose the footy. I think that's a testament to Arvo footy and just how good of a spectacle it is as well. Shows the All Blacks are still a massive draw card, and it also shows that perhaps rugby isn't as dead in Australia as we once thought it was. The All Blacks, our first half attack, thought that was unreal. We tore them to shreds. We moved the ball from width to width, exposing holes, playing some razzle-dazzle, a bit of eyes up, using our outside backs to punch through the middle as well. Cortez Ratama starting to snipe a little, which I actually mentioned a few weeks ago is what I wanted to see. I loved what I saw in the first half. However, second half, I thought things really tightened up, and you can tell that psychologically this team is well aware of their inability to play 80 minutes at the moment. moment, and I think that's massively to their detriment. How much it's being spoken about, even internally. You can tell the All Blacks coaches, they're bringing it up all the time too, that they're not happy with their finishes. Sometimes the more you highlight this stuff and the more pressure you put on it, the harder it becomes to pull off. I'd like to see them relax and just play some good quality football. I think that would come off the back of them perhaps just shifting the focus, sticking to what they're doing and just riding the wave of momentum. But yet again, that last 15 to 20 minutes, that was pretty tough watching. 2 yellow cards in that period certainly didn't help. In fact, a penalty in the 45th minute, that was our last points for this game. It gave us a 17-point lead. And at this point, watching it at the pub, I thought the game was dead and buried. All Blacks 13 plus, that was a green tick on your bet slip and everything else. But unfortunately, we just couldn't put them away. And look, to be fair, there were a couple tries, disallowed tries, that I thought really halted our momentum too. I hate when tries get brought back after multiple phases. That Cortez Ratama one, look, it was the correct call. Forward pass from Damian McKenzie, but that was an absolute screamer of a try. A real try of the year contender. Lads are celebrating it in the moment. I was at the pub, like I said, the whole place was going off. Everyone looking at each other saying, shit, that's vintage All Blacks footy right there. The skill set from a number of players in the lead up to that try was second to none. To then have that real downer moment of it being brought back due to that forward pass, I do think it is something that we need to look at, and we were denied 2 tries in that 5-minute period. But hey, it is what it is. We banked the win. Full credit to Aussie, because they did come to play, and it wasn't just all our doing. I did think they stepped up the tempo big time in the second half. For me, standouts for the All Blacks, Wallace Satiti, unreal yet again. His ball carry, his skill set, he's just perfect for this forward pack at the moment. I thought Cortez Ratama was great too. Those sniping runs, his support play, he's just tenacious, gets to the ball so fast, gives that ability to play on the front. I thought the game really slowed down when TJ came on. And then for the Wallabies, I thought the biggest standout in this game for me was the performance of Fraser McWright. He was immense for them. And then their bench, I thought they were really good too and won the battle off the Remu. Caleb Clark, another big shift from him too. I'm seeing a lot of people wanting to see him play 13. He's certainly got the build for it. He's powerful, he's explosive. When he gets ball in hand, he's bloody hard to stop one-on-one, and he punches great holes too. But for me, he's got that real run-first mindset, and I like a 13 that while they can still run the ball, they can also play their wingers into space. I like Caleb as well, injecting himself around the ruck. There were a couple breaks there where he just pop up off Cortez's shoulder. As a winger, so much more easy to do that than as a 13. You get that license to roam a little, expose some mismatches around the ruck once you find some tired forwards, and he wouldn't be able to do that in the centres. So I certainly think we stick to Caleb on the left wing. He's been bloody damaging there at the moment. So on to Wellington we go this week. And look, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous. We suck at the Cape Town. The Cape Town curse is well and truly a legit thing. We haven't won there in the last 6 years. In fact, the last time we played the Wallabies there as well, we actually played out a 16-all draw. I think it was our first test post-COVID back in 2020. And I recall Reece Hodge had about a 60-metre shot, a penalty shot to win the game for them, hit the crossbar, and they almost pulled it off. So look, our results in recent time at the Cape Town against the Wallabies, they're far from impressive either. One thing that does fill me with confidence though, actually, there's 3 things that I really like about this weekend. First of all, the Professor Wayne Smith being brought back into All Blacks camp. If there's anyone that can iron out some kinks in the All Blacks or in rugby in general, it's got to be the nutty Professor in Wayne. Really rated too, rocked up in his 2015 All Blacks kit into camp, dug deep into his wardrobe to pull those bad boys out. So shout out to you, Wayne, and interested to see what type of impact he can have on both the team and the coaching staff in the space of 7 days. The second thing I really like about this game is that it's a milestone game for one of the great All Blacks, ex-skipper skipper, Sammy Cane, becomes only the 13th All Black to play 100 tests. What a milestone that is. So surely the boys get up for him to celebrate this special occasion with a famous dub. He's a heck of a player. He's a heck of a person off the field. His leadership is massive as well. Whenever I think of Sam Cane, I think of that iconic performance he busted out in the most recent World Cup quarterfinal against Ireland. Shit, was he immense there. So surely the boys want to celebrate this occasion with a dub for him. I also think it's his last ever All Blacks game potentially. So a bit of a double whammy there for old skipper Sam. And then the third reason is actually another player that I think is playing their last All Blacks game in the hometown hero, TJ Perenara. Of course, Wally, born and raised, so proud of repping that area. He's another one who's been a massive All Black both on and off the field. You'd have to think not required for the Northern Tour due to heading back to Japan next year. So the fact he gets to potentially go out on his home turf in front of a soul crowd, in front of his friends and family as well. Surely we get it done for both him and Sam. Milestones, they mean a shit ton to this All Black team. So hopefully we can go out there and put in a bloody polished performance. In terms of the team naming, goes down this morning when you're listening. Thursday, 11 a.m. I believe. Again, pisses me off. That's only 2 days out from game day. Surely they could do a Wednesday and then allow everyone to debate the selections. But in terms of your changes, lots of people calling for Bodie to come in and wear the 10 jersey for D-Mac. I personally, I'd still like to see Rico on the right wing as well, and I think now is the perfect time to do it. Jordie Barrett, he's out for 4 to 6 weeks with an MCL injury though, so I don't think they're going to make that change. I think we'll see ALB at 12 and Rico at 13, then probably Talia or Severis on the Sting, Will Jordan at the back. Personally, I'll be going ALB 12, Proctor at 13, Rico in the 14 jersey. I just don't think they're going to go that way though, and good to see Geordie's was just an MCL, not an ACL. 4 to 6 weeks. I think that sees him back for part of the Northern Hemisphere tour at least, and also good to see out golfing, so clearly the injury isn't that bad. Overall, I can't see too many changes being made to this side. Forward pack, I think it looks pretty settled, and they've actually been really good performances from our pack over the last few weeks, to be fair. Ever since we got touched up in that Argentina loss, our loose forward trio got exposed. I think our forwards went really well in South Africa, and then I think they went well last week as well. Love seeing Tossie come in off the bench. I think he had some good impact, so skillful, massive body, so hopefully he gets another chance off the Remu. I think it'll be fairly settled until at least we finish this one up, Northern Tour. Then we might see Razor & Co. get a little bit more adventurous and roll the dice. And then speaking of rolling the dice, someone they've called in this week just to train with the squad, but it really did bamboozle me. Canterbury outside utility in Shea Fihaki. He's come in to replace Jordie Barrett, and I just couldn't understand this one, to be fair. And that's nothing against Shea. He's a young, talented footballer, big body, got a huge boot on him, a great skill set. He's versatile. He can play on both wings, fullback, in the midfield as well. But he's probably one of the last people that I thought was the next cab in off the rank if there was an injury to the back line. Surely there's at least 4 or 5 players that I can think of straight off the top of my head that have to be ahead of him at the moment. First of all, what's Amoni Narawa done wrong to be picked in the initial squad and then not get a crack now? Got a little run against Fiji, 10 to 15 minutes, didn't play his best, but also didn't play that bad enough to be warranted not to be selected again in these circumstances. He's gone back to NPC level, he's been ripping up at centre for Bay of Plenty, he's versatile as too, so I thought straight away any injuries to your outsides and in would come Amoni. If not him, then I thought it would be Sean Stevenson. He's been ripping up for Harbour, lots of people bagging on his work defensively, but offensively, ball in hand, he's an absolute wizard. I thought Etene Nana Satoro would be worthy of a call-up. His form for the Chiefs this year and now County since coming back from injury has been pretty unreal. Tim Tavatavanawa, someone I've been harping on about over the last few weeks that wouldn't look out of place in an All Black jersey, ripping up for the undefeated Tasman Mako. Surely those guys higher up the pecking order, you could even argue a Jacob Ratamatavuki Nepkins, or even a Azan Sullivan probably pops to mind before I think of Shea. Then, when you factor in as well, he's called in for Geordie Barrett, who's our 12, then that makes things even more interesting. I thought a Quintu Paia would be ahead of him then. Of course, All Blacks experience, playing good footy as well. Even another Crusader in Dallas McLeod or Braden Enor, I thought they would be higher up in your rankings. So this is really interesting for me. Obviously, it's a long-term play. I think Shea's still only 23 years old, so he's got a lot of time to wear the black jersey in the future, but it certainly does scream a bit of Crusaders bias. Razor, going back to what he knows. Look, congrats to Shea, a great environment to be amongst, and he's not going to be in the playing 23, so it doesn't really matter, but I'll be interested to see if they take him on the Northern Tour. He's got all the skills to be a great player. I just don't think he's quite at that level yet, and I think that selection could have been better utilised, just to give guys like Amone, Shooter, Etene hope that they still have a chance to wear the black jersey. Otherwise, I think we're going to lose some of these guys overseas, and that would be a real bloody shame. Great to see Roygaard back though, training with the team. I think him and Cortez Ratama over the next few years are going to prove to be the deadliest 1-2 punch in terms of a halfback duo in world rugby. So great to see Big Royds back. Shout out to Argentina as well. How good of them getting the dub. Mane Lebok with a chance to ice it for the Box, but just couldn't clutch it with a penalty kick to get them the win. It was 17 points to nil after 13 minutes to the Springboks, and I thought this game was done and dusted. Cricket score on ways, only for Argentina to score plenty of points of their own, take a lead into Oranges, and then have the ability to ice it despite the game getting bloody tense and the points really tightening up in the second half. A massive result for the RGs. They've now bet us in New Zealand and South Africa in Argentina throughout this Rugby Championship. They're sitting second on the ladder. That is pretty crazy scenes, and I wouldn't have predicted that at the start of this tournament. So well done to Los Pumas, playing a different brand of rugby, and they're getting big results for it at the moment. A huge rematch between those two this week. Rassi, he rested a fair few players in that first game. Does he bring over the reinforcements, the cavalry from South Africa, or does he just back the boys to right the wrongs? That'll be interesting to see. All Blacks, Box, I think both get the win this weekend, and all will be right again in the world of rugby. Get up the ABs, 80-minute performance. Hopefully it's on ways. Let's pump these Wallabies losers and show the world that we're still a bloody good football side. Right, that's us for another episode of Surly. Really appreciate your ears. Cheers for tuning in as always. Enjoy the weekend sporting action. Hope to see some of you at Full-Time Sports Bar if you are based in Auckland this weekend. I'll probably be there Friday for the NRL and then Super Saturday for the old Bled game too, and also for your second NRL prelim. Sunday Arvo, I'll probably head along to the Fortress, the Dog Pound, to watch Harbour, so won't be there that day. But if you do go and get bums on seats, let me know your thoughts and feedback as well. Keen to hear your opinions. Otherwise, catch you back here, same time, same place next week, and stay safe, go well. How good is sport? Catch you next Thursday. Big Fizz.